eye-opener. Is the lesser of two evils in fact better than the greater of two evils, as the saying implies? Let us make a more nuanced analysis of such a claim to find out. Let us look at and determine the validity of such a statement. Let's consider the outcomes for those affected by the lesser of two evils. While there may be several metrics by which to determine whether the lesser of two evils is better or worse for most people, it is my opinion that two of the best metrics for comparison would have to be the short-term effects versus the long-term impacts. And in this regard, what could be a better comparison than the office of the President of the United States of America? While I have intimated my belief that America is falling out of its favored status, or more accurately, its dominant status amongst the countries on planet Earth, it does still hold sway over a plurality, if not a majority of the 193 countries that are currently recognized by the United Nations in the year 2025 AD. To determine the veracity of such a claim, one need merely look at the proxy wars between Ukraine and Russia, and those between Israel and an ever-growing list of sovereign nations in the rest of the Middle East. Whether you side with Ukraine or Russia is less relevant than whether or not you believe Ukraine could stand against one of Earth's nuclear-armed superpowers without the money and weapons provided by Europe and the United States. And this is even more so the case for Israel and its expanding strategy as it pertains to Gaza, Egypt, Syria, Qatar, Iran, Turkey, and basically all of its neighbors. In the case of my first example, for years now, Ukraine has been portrayed as the lesser of two evils. But prior to the start of the Russo-Ukraine War, it was deemed a Nazi and neo-Nazi haven. In this instance, Nazi beliefs held by prominent leaders in Ukraine were deemed the lesser of two evils when compared to whatever beliefs were and are held by Russian leadership. Is the case of Israel versus the entire Middle East any different, as it bombs the area in which Israeli hostages are most likely being held? Is the lesser evil letting Israel fend for itself? In this case, the continuance of one state, Israel, outweighs the concerns of all else. The death Israel has rained down on tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people in one country, is less than the evil of killing 1,300 people during a festival being held next to an open-air prison. First off, this doesn't even sound like the lesser of two evils, but let's just agree that it is for the moment. How has this argument aged? Can this lesser of two evils be deemed a wise choice in retrospect? Has choosing this evil led to peace in the Middle East or more strife? With Israel bombing so many other countries outside of Gaza, it's getting harder to say siding with the Zionists, expanding Israel's war fronts, comprises the most noble of intentions. Even if one's claim is that siding with Israel after the attacks on October 7th was the lesser of two evils, one cannot say it remains so as Israel escalates and expands its attacks in the region. In this instance, one would have to concede that backing Israel has in fact and in practice become the greater of two evils and is only solidifying itself as such as time passes.
This ties directly into how choosing the lesser of two evils impacts the office of the President of the United States of America and the citizens over which that office rules. Currently, it is held by Donald Trump, who appeared to be the lesser of two evils when he beat Kamala Harris, but given his defense of Israel, no matter what Israel does, he no longer seems to be that lesser of two evils for which the people of America voted. These days, Trump simply feels evil. No less evil than Kamala Harris. No more evil than Joe Biden. There just doesn't seem to be any real distinction between the evil offered by Harris and Biden and that offered by Trump. Oh, the means by which those three got to their brand of evil may be different. Biden failed his way to the top through corruption and complicity, while it appears to be compromise and complicity that has forced Trump to acquiesce to Netanyahu's evil intentions. As for Harris, while I would agree that complicity played a major part in her success, I would be hard-pressed to say what other factors played a role in her confusing rise. I mean, just look at any video in which she is asked a question. From the most mundane to the most difficult, Harris's cackling responses and word salads are confounding at best and disconcerting at worst. To think that some thought her to be the lesser of two evils is beyond me. All I can say is that humanity had better be grateful that Kamala didn't get a 9/11 event akin to the one that propelled G.W. Bush from town idiot to war president, which, given the current state of the presidency and the United States, really doesn't seem that different. I imagine that under Harris, Israel would still be bombing all of its neighbors and it would still be committing a genocide. It is for this reason I believe we have hit a tipping point. In the case of two evils, that means we are no longer even given the choice between two evils. We are simply given the choice between this evil or that evil. This, of course, is the logical conclusion to voting for the lesser of two evil, but definitely not the beginning. No, voting for the lesser of two evils began decades ago. In Biden's case, it began when he first lied about his education and plagiarized his campaign speeches and was allowed to continue his career as a public figure. Letting him do so only reinforced the idea that bad behavior was rewarded on par with good behavior, which could only lead to more bad behavior. Rather, the bad behavior be that of Biden or Trump or Harris, the possibility and probability of bad behavior is greater when the consequences are minimized, and bad actors are allowed to populate and hold offices of leadership until one dies in office like Dianne Feinstein.
And when the system allows for corruption in the highest office in the land, it almost demands corruption at every level beneath that highest office. Just think about it like this. Every public office held beneath the presidency sees that the president can do business with the likes of Ukraine, and the president's son can use his father's office as vice president to get jobs for which he is not qualified. And as President Biden can have a business that produces no products and provides no services, but be worth millions and never be held accountable. What would prevent others from doing and using immoral or even illegal means to rise to the top? And what could those good actors who seek to serve the best interest of the public do to combat and stop those willing to do anything to win? Corrupt at the top, corrupt at the bottom. And before anyone dare argue that Trump's corruption or compromise is any worse or that Trump is any worse than anyone else, just remember that something or someone led to Trump. In his first term, that someone was Obama, who had he left that office with the country being in a better place, Trump could have never defeated Hillary Clinton, who promised 4 more Obama-like years of leadership. In that race, the people saw Trump as the lesser of two evils, as they did when comparing Kamala Harris to Trump in this last election. In the end, it is up to the people to decide not to vote for the lesser of two evils. They should instead vote for anything but the two evils offered. And I don't care if you doubt that a third-party candidate could win in America, because voting Democrat or Republican hasn't worked to the benefit of the masses for decades, because ultimately, the lesser of two evils is still evil. If you like the videos here and would like to see more, let your friends and family know about this website called Mike's Sons Entertainment on YouTube. There are plenty of blogs, news, and websites reporting and complaining about our leaders and their failures. How many, however, are offering or even pointing to any solutions? The book Solutions, Enough Complaining, Let's Fix America by Chris Osman does, and it can be found on Amazon or at www.mikesonsentertainment.com. To find out other ways you're being screwed by your current leaders, check out the posts on this blog daily. Learn about the biggest and worst issues that America and its people face today. You can also check into this blog daily to hear about those issues that America and its people will face in the near and distant future.
If, however, you would like to discover possible solutions to either mitigate the worst impacts of these issues or solutions to avoid them altogether, keep listening. The problems we face are not as complicated as so many leaders and news reports claim. They are man-made and are only claimed as complicated so those who are responsible can maintain control. For example, there is a persistent argument that moving government is like turning a cruise ship around. It is supposedly a long process that can only be achieved incrementally. While this may be true for laws and policies that benefit the majority of Americans, it does not seem to be so for that smallest of American minorities. When one examines the policies and laws that benefit that minority known as the elite or the rich, the speed at which those laws are passed is exponentially faster. While most of us sit on the deck chairs waiting for the Titanic to avoid the myriad of icebergs of which we seem to continually run afoul, the elite ride comfortably in speedboats. If, according to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, why do the rich live quite different lives than the rest of us? Where is our speedboat? In 2018, Chris Osman wrote a book highlighting the problems humanity would face if more power, wealth, and control were funneled to a small group of individuals, groups, or organizations. In that book, Mr. Osman provides solutions, offered up from himself and others, to the inevitable problems we would all face. In it, he also provided a means for the public to analyze, compare, and contrast the words and deeds of those we've chosen to follow against our real-world experiences. To this end, Mr. Osman provides the means for readers to disseminate information as provided by their news sources of choice, their elected officials, and any other authority they choose to follow. The book, titled Solutions, Enough Complaining. Let's Fix America offers a means to hold the leaders up not just to a higher standard than is currently accepted, but to one that will improve lives. Instead of the lesser of two evils, why not the greater of two goods? Click the link below and get your copy of Solutions today.